dance is like a language. The purpose of it is to connect with another person, to understand another person, to express ourselves, to learn and to grow. That is the purpose of a language, right? I mean, why do we learn English from when we're really young? I mean, English for me, at least, maybe not for all of you, perhaps it's a different language, but why do we learn that, right? From a young age, so we can learn how to express ourselves, so we can learn how to understand someone else who's expressing themselves, so we can learn in general about other things in this world, so we can grow and then contribute something back and ultimately communicate with other people that we have to communicate with, because we are not islands in ourselves. We are a community. No matter how much you feel like an independent introvert who wants to be a hermit in your home, you still end up connecting with other people at one point or another. The other aspect of it that's like a language is that it is contextual. How you communicate often depends on who you're communicating with. If you're an advanced dancer with all of your advanced moves and everything that you know, you shouldn't be throwing all of that onto a beginner, because who you're communicating with, who you're trying to connect with, who you hope understands you, does not understand all of those things, does not know all of the things that you know. So you have to adjust how you are going to communicate so that the other person can understand. It's very similar to doctors. Like, doctors have all of this knowledge, all of this training. They understand the body inside out and all these different parts, and they've got medical terminology that is above the average person's head. But a doctor that's speaking to a child to try and tell that child what's wrong or what's happening doesn't speak in those terms. They might speak in those terms to their fellow colleagues, but when the who changes from some advanced person in the same level of knowledge and information and experience as them to someone like a kid, they change the way they speak. So context of language is similar to dance. How we communicate, how we express ourselves often does and should depend on who we are expressing ourselves to. And ultimately, back to the purpose, what do we hope to accomplish? Do we want to connect with that person? Because if we don't want to connect with that person, then sure, do whatever you want. But if we want to connect with that person, we're going to adjust our language, adjust our expression to the levels that they understand. The other aspect of dance as a language is that the what you are communicating or what you're learning or how also depends on the where. There's context in that sense too. So let's say with dance, for example, you have Cuban style, which is quite popular in many places, but most likely very, very popular in Cuba itself. You might not find a lot of people who dance on two in Cuba because there isn't an environment. The where that they are learning a style of dance doesn't actually say, well, you know what, you should learn too. Why? There's nobody else dancing here on two. Why would I learn something that no one else is speaking or is interested in speaking? So why am I going to try and learn that when this is the environment that I'm going to be practicing in? So much of what we do, what we pursue, what we attempt to understand depends on where we are situated. People who knock on two dancing or on one dancing or Cuban style and look at dancers and say, well, hey, you shouldn't be dancing like that. That's not the way it's danced. Or people who are incorporating other styles of dance into their dancing. New York has tons of dance schools of every genre. Right? You got jazz, you got hip hop, you got funk, you got voguing, you've got African dances and different types of African dances. You've got salsa with various styles, zouk, kizomba, bachata, everything. So people who are avid dancers who are learning many different styles will most likely incorporate many of those styles into one form of dance, like salsa. Whereas in another city, you don't have access to all those things, so you learn just the salsa. Basically, that aspect of dance as a language is important to consider when we are communicating and when we are listening to other people communicate, to understand what is their purpose. You know, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? Where are they doing it? And perhaps that will explain the how they're doing it. And if we could open our minds to that, I think we would be much more accepting of different styles of dance, much more accepting of the nuances, the new things that are added to the dance as well. You know, going back to language, like even the way we speak English today, forget the Latin part of it, the way we speak English today isn't how it was spoken hundreds of years ago. The evolution of our language, even in society with teenagers and slang. I don't even understand half the slang that's out there, but it exists. I've heard reporters on news shows, news anchors bring up slang to talk about a certain event that involved teenagers, or if they're including them in some kind of interview. Because even if you don't like it, by commenting negatively, you can dislike it, but by commenting negatively or trying to push it away or trying to ignore it, you're not going to eliminate it. You're not going to end up saying, because I don't like it and I keep on saying all these negative things, then this thing is no longer going to exist. That's just not how it works. What you end up doing instead is you push the people that do that thing or speak that way or communicate that way or express themselves that way. You end up pushing those people away and you make your circle a lot smaller as a result. And maybe that's not your intention, but that typically ends up happening. Someone who's going to sit there and tell me, wow, your style of dancing is wrong. That's not how you do it. You should be doing this, this, this. Even though when I'm dancing, I'm having fun. My partner's having fun. We're being musical. We're connected to each other and the music. And we are trying new things. And at the end, we finish with a big hug and say, can't wait for the next one. Like, you're telling me all of that is wrong. Why? Because I didn't hit the basic the way you wanted me to? Well, you're not going to change the fact that I'm going to continue to express myself creatively, or that I'm going to continue to have fun in this way that's exploring and curious about the style. What you will do is push me away from you, because I'm going to look at you and say, well, do I want to engage with somebody like this who's so negative and closed-minded? Probably not.